Hi, I'm Joe Fuller, Professor of Management Practice at Harvard Business School, where I lead our Managing the Future of Work project, and where we study trends in the workforce. And I'm delighted today to be joined by Kristof Terryn, who is the CEO of Zurich North America. Zurich's a real pioneer in the development of apprenticeships in the US, and we're here today to talk about that. Kristof, you launched your apprenticeship program roughly 5 years ago, 2016, in Chicago, and you've subsequently expanded it to several other locations in North America. What led you to implement apprenticeships as a solution to your talent sourcing, and what do you think has made your program successful to date?
So first of all, thanks for having me here today. And look, the apprenticeship program for us has been absolutely a tremendous experience. I mean, as you said, we started it back in 2016, and we're a Swiss company, and so we've seen firsthand, I mean, what this vocational training model can do in terms of bringing people into the industry, in terms of bringing young people into this industry and giving them really, really meaningful careers. So we took that model and then brought it to the US back in 16. We started in Chicago, as you said. We've now expanded across multiple other locations in the US, and it's been fantastic for us. I mean, what it really gives us is a 2-year training program where people work 3 days, 2 days they spent on formal training. And at the end of this, I mean, they get a degree, and we have very good retention. So we have these very motivated people that get a practical skill set, I mean, learn how our organization works. And at the end of it, I mean, end up working for us and stay with us. I mean, they've been really, really good talent to bring into the organization.
I'm curious, when you were importing the Swiss model, what were the 2 or 3 things that you had to adapt or change to make it fit in the US context?
Yeah, I think the system works and is proven, and we've seen the success it has had in Switzerland in terms of very low youth unemployment, in terms of bringing that talent in. I think what we're still missing in the US is that we kind of did this initially individually. Yeah. So as Zurich Insurance, I mean, we then broadened this together with a couple of other companies here in the Chicago area and created the Chicago area apprenticeship network. But what we're still missing is kind of that formal recognition, a broader industry-wide led effort, which is really the Swiss system. I mean, you become a learned banker, a learned insurance person, and that degree is very widely recognized. I think the challenge that we still have here in the US is that there's still this barrier around needing a college degree for a lot of jobs, whereas the apprenticeship program is a perfectly valid track for us and has worked really well. So for me, it's really absence of a broader trade association based program and still that broader recognition as well. Those are probably the 2 things that are still missing.
Of course, the essence of apprenticeship programs is work-based learning, and the pandemic has significantly disrupted the patterns of work, the rhythms of work. How were you able to accommodate COVID considerations in preserving your apprenticeship program?
Yeah, one of the things that we started to do even before the pandemic hit, as we moved to different locations, I mean, we also moved some of the formal learning to online learning. And so we worked with an institution in the New York area, but actually provided online classes. So we were actually very well positioned for this online environment. And then at the end of the day, it wasn't any different from the rest of our employees. We all went virtual. Technology worked really, really well. And so we've been able to continue the apprenticeship program throughout this pandemic. And look, don't get me wrong. I mean, at some point, I mean, coaching and getting them to understand the company, I mean, we will bring them back into our facilities. But throughout the pandemic, I mean, it's actually worked quite well to move online.
Do you think you'll take any of the elements that you had to introduce during the pandemic and make them a permanent feature in your program?
Yeah, just in general, no. I mean, just as we look at our ways of working, so a combination of online working and online coaching and online classroom teaching as well, but yeah, still with a physical element. So I think we'll keep that flexibility. It allows us to be broader in terms of location, but we'll still bring the apprentices in for particular training events where it's still good to have people in person.
Well, Kristof, I've been studying skills development and work-based learning for over a decade, and I must say apprenticeship is a term that many American policymakers and business leaders throw about very lightly. They often cite the Swiss system, the German system as things we need to learn from, but there's still fairly narrow adoption of apprenticeship. If there are people in our audience who are considering trying to institute an apprenticeship program, what type of guidance would you give them, and what kind of pitfalls should they be looking out for?
Yeah, look, the overall guidance that I would give is that, I mean, it's been an amazing success for us. Yeah, I think it is just absolutely such a wonderful way to bring in people into this industry. And then also, I mean, bringing people with minority backgrounds into this industry, because what you don't have is that massive barrier of the investment in a college degree. So I don't think there are that many pitfalls. For us, it's been such a great way of bringing in people in areas where we're short of skills, where the market is hyper competitive, and you create a real loyalty. I mean, you've invested in these people, you've given the skill sets they need. Retention is great. Of course, we're only 5 years into this journey, but our experience has been truly amazing. I don't think there are a lot of pitfalls. I think the challenge is going to be more, get the whole organization excited about this, get your senior people, I mean, to understand the value of the apprenticeship program, because they need to be bought into it. I mean, they need to create the opportunities for the apprentices on where they actually join. But that, I would say, is the only real challenge. I mean, the broader one we've discussed, it would be fantastic if this gets broader recognition and moves beyond a single company and much more to an industry-wide or even an economy-wide track for a lot of people.
Any advice as to how to be connecting to educators, whether it's local school districts or post-secondary institutions like community colleges, to try to get them engaged in this effort and excited about it?
Yeah, so I mean, look, we've worked with a couple of community colleges. We're now also looking at how do we expand from the initial associate degree to college level degrees. And so we're now working with other higher education institutions. But I would say by and large, I mean, we found a great willingness on behalf of the colleges to engage with us.
Well, one thing that always motivates American business people is the concept of return on investment, or that a program is going to lead them to have better all-in economics. Anything you can share with us about how the apprenticeship program, how the economics of it compare to your normal open cycle hiring, and what are the key drivers of economic benefit for Zurich?
Yeah, so look, it's hard to put a very specific number on it in terms of ROI, but all I can say is that the payback for us has actually been quite short. I mean, think about this, about 80% of them are still with us. So massive retention when you compare that to college internships. I mean, so retention has been great. And also, I mean, so initially we launched this, particularly in the underwriting and the claims area. We then expanded it to have a cyber apprenticeship. Now, think about how difficult it is to attract people in that sector of the market. So it's just been a phenomenal way to bring in talent. I mean, give them capabilities that are scarce and difficult to come by, and retain them. So, I mean, I'd say it's been an overwhelming success from an ROI perspective.
That also, of course, speaks to the ability of your apprentices, if they ever do choose to look outside of Zurich, that they're going to have tangible skills that are really in demand in the marketplace. So as much as they might be enjoying their employment experience at Zurich, this is not becoming contractual servitude where only Zurich recognizes their skills and therefore they're obliged to stay with you.
You know, absolutely. And look, I think there is a broad appetite across the industry. I mean, you look at the Chicago Apprenticeship Network, I think we now have close to 1,000 companies joining that. So there is definitely a broader appetite. And I think with that, the degrees will become more broadly recognized as well.
Well, this is really part of a broader move that I hope we'll see in the United States of skills-based hiring and really based on professionally delivered work-based learning experiences with companies of the quality of Zurich. So Kristof Terryn, CEO of North America of Zurich, I'm delighted to have had this opportunity to chat with you and share your insights with our audience.
My pleasure.